This weekend project starts down at my local Home Depot, where I grabbed a 2-foot by 4-foot piece of birch. First mark is going to be at 14 inches, and I'm going to mark all the way down to the end of the board. Next one is 40.5, and I'm going to mark that one as well. What I want to do is cut it at the 14 inch and the 40.5 to get me a nice rectangular piece. That's going to be the size I'm going to use. But these scrap pieces, I'm not going to throw away because they're valuable later on. Once I get that piece cut, then I need to make a mark at the 8 inch from each side. And then I'm going to move down the board every 3.1/8 of an inch till I get 12 marks in. Then I'm going to connect each mark with a line. This is going to be what's called the cut line. And I need to cut down every single one of these lines, but not through the board. In order to do that though, I need to grab that scrap piece of board and I'm going to make myself what's called a jig. I'm going to take this and other scrap boards I got and put a border around this scrap piece of birch. I'm going to glue it down and use brad nails to hold it in place because that's going to make it really strong. These brad nails only hold the boards in place while the glue dries. When I spread it out, I'm going to keep it away from the edges because I don't want any glue to ooze out. Once I get these boards down on at least 3 of the sides, then I need to go ahead and drill some sight holes. I'm going to start with 3 of them and I'm going to drill those through. Then I'm going to take my skill saw, cut all the way down through those holes. Now, back to the board that had all the lines on. I've got 5 layers on this plywood, and I'm only going to cut through 4, leaving the bottom 1. Next, what I'm going to do is put this jig on here, right where the line is, and I'm going to cut through that. Again, not all the way through the board, just the 4 top layers. What I need to do is cut through each one of those lines, all 12 of them, on both sides of the boards on each end. It's a tedious process, but it's definitely going to be worth it at the end. Once I get all of those cut, I'm going to flip it over because what I want to do is put some little handles inside. These are just for my fingertips to stick in, so I'm going to drill both sides with the Forstner bit and then use my jigsaw to cut it out. Definitely want to sand it though because that's where my hand's going to go. Do this on both sides. Next, it's time to get ready to bend this wood. So I'm going to wet on the top side right where the grooves are that I cut out with some water. It'll help the wood from cracking or splitting. And then here's the secret. I'm going to take some wood glue and I got to put it inside each and every single one of those grooves. I'm going to bend it over just a little bit to try to get that glue inside there. Do it again to both sides. And then here's the trick. This is very unconventional, but I'm going to take a tie down strap and I'm just going to start cinching that together. As you see, the sides are coming together and it's going to stop when it gets nice and strong because it can't go any further. I'm going to wipe off that glue and then we'll let it dry for a little bit and take off the tie down strap and look, it held itself right in place. I love how it turned out, but we're not done yet. Then it's time to stain. I'm going to go with my favorite color, get a nice coat of stain on there, also put some polyurethane to make it nice and smooth, and then it's ready to display. And look at this masterpiece. I love how it turned out. It's got the slanted sides, which makes it nice and steady, and you can sit in bed holding your remote or your laptop and watching TV. I love it, and it's also going to be good someday for breakfast in bed.
Pick up a couple of wood hangers. Start by pulling the metal part out of the hanger. Then grab 2 hangers and drill a small hole in the corner of each one. This does not have to go all the way through the hanger. Now we're going to fit these 2 hangers together to look like the legs of a table. Once I have them positioned where I want them, use a little bit of wood glue along the edge and clamp them together. Repeat this same process with 2 more hangers and let that dry as well. Once the glue is dry, we're going to grab these corner braces. These are 3/4 inch corner braces, and we're going to screw these into the pre-drilled holes. To turn this into a mini table, we need a tabletop. I'm using just a white melamine shelf. Then I'm going to mark off the holes and use a drill to just pre-drill these holes. And then we can attach them with screws. I'm going to repeat this process on the other side so my table has 2 sets of legs. And that's it. Now I can use this as a mini lap table in bed or on the couch.
We started by marking and cutting this piece of wood right in half. This will make it a lot easier to work with. We then marked and cut 3 pieces at 16 inches. We then marked and cut 1 piece at 12 inches. Here are the 3 16-inch pieces and 1 12-inch piece all cut. Next, we set up our table saw to 5.5 inches wide. Each 16-inch piece will get ran through, as well as the 12-inch piece. Then for our next cut, we readjusted our table saw to 3 15/16. Only grabbing our 16-inch pieces for this, we placed the nicely cut square end along the fence of the table saw. We readjusted the table saw one last time to 4.5 inches. Only grabbing our 12-inch pieces for this one, we are running those through with the nice square side along the fence. Grabbing our palm sander, we used 100 grit sandpaper to sand all 4 sides as well as the 2 ends of the pieces of wood. Now it's time to clean off the boards so they are ready to get stained. Using a microfiber cloth or a tack cloth, you wipe down each board. When it comes to staining, I like to wear gloves. We are using the color dark walnut for this, but you can use any color you like. After giving your stain a nice stir, it is time to apply. Now there are multiple ways you can apply stain, but this is my preferred method, using a foam brush. You can also use a regular paintbrush. Grabbing a rag I had on hand, I wiped off the excess stain that wasn't needed. Once all the boards were stained and fully dry, it was time to apply the top coat. I like to apply a top coat using a brush. This gives me the smoothest finish. I applied this to as many sides as I could, let it dry, and then flipped it over, and then applied it to the remainder of the board. Once it was completely dry, I lightly sanded with 220 grit sandpaper. Once that second top coat is dry, we are ready to assemble. Coming in 3/4 of an inch from the end, and 1 inch from each edge of each piece of wood, we use our speed square to make a mark. You then repeat the same process on this other end. We placed our speed square 3/4 of an inch in. From there, we find the very edge of each individual board and place a mark 1 inch in. This will leave 6 marks on this end and 6 marks on the other end. This is where the future screws will be going. Grabbing the 2 12-inch pieces as well as one 16-inch piece, we will start to assemble. Once everything is lined up nice and flush, we find our first mark that we previously made and drill a pilot hole. Using our impact driver, we place a 2.5-inch deck screw. For now, we just have the 2 screws in place. Grabbing another 16-inch board, making sure it's lined up nice and flush with the 12-inch pieces, you then will drill 1 pilot hole in this corner and then place the screw. We wanted to check our spacing, so we grabbed another 16-inch piece and placed it in the middle. Once we confirmed our spacing was fine, we drilled another pilot hole and placed another screw. It is now time to attach these hairpin legs that I found on Amazon. We placed these 3/8 of an inch in from the side and the front. We then drilled 4 pilot holes, only going down about an inch. Now don't be like us. You would normally place a piece of tape on your drill bit to know when to stop drilling. And now we could secure the leg using the provided screws that came with. This makes for the perfect size nightstand with a little shelf in the middle for extra storage.